heart of Greece, I have a question for this room. Can ancient Greek literature teach us anything about our world today? In the epic poem by Omiros, Odyssey, or as I know it, the Odyssey, the main character Odysseus begins valiantly as the king of Ithaki, who emerges victorious after winning the Trojan War. But to make his way home, Odysseus must endure a grueling 10-year quest that would test the limits of his intelligence, courage, and determination. Odysseus finally passes each test and does make his way home, completing what would forever be known as the hero's journey, or, as you may know it in Greek, to taxidi enos iroa. This story has achieved a lasting fame, like few pieces of literature in human history. Somehow, it's truly crazy to me to imagine that while Omiros was sitting somewhere here in Greece sharing his poem, it would be 100 generations and literally many thousands of miles away that a teacher would hand me a modern printing of the Odyssey and impel me to read it for my high school English class. Odyssey resonates across the ages because somehow the tale of a character overcoming unbelievable odds strikes directly at what we value in the human experience. But Odyssey did more than just define our shared humanity. It also came to define Greece for the rest of the world. And for me personally, has had a deep impact as it planted the first seeds of my love for this beautiful country. For many young Greeks, Odyssey represents the old Greece, a bygone place that's fading further and further into the past. Or is it? So, as you can probably guess, I'm not Greek. My parents immigrated from China to the United States, where I grew up. Then I became fortunate enough to eventually attend the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, widely regarded as one of the top business schools in the US. After I graduated, I moved to New York City, where I worked in marketing and consulting. And then 3 years ago, I moved to Athens on a personal search for adventure. During that time, I have built a company and devoted countless hours to examining the intricacies of Greece's business landscape. And I'm here to tell you, I see something very exciting happening. Like Odysseus, the Greeks started out valiant in a society that was considered a global hub of learning, literature, philosophy. From the time of Odysseus until now, Greeks have endured countless years and centuries of hardship, social upheaval, invasion, and most recently, the financial and humanitarian crisis of the last decade. Just as the people of Ithaki believed Odysseus to be dead after he went missing for 10 years, many have also assumed that Greece would not come back from the crisis. But today it is 2020, and I believe that Greece has reached a critical point in its hero's journey. Because even through all of this hardship, there were still people coming up with bold new ideas that would push the country forward, all without losing sight of hope. And I feel that hope most powerfully within Greece's emerging startup ecosystem. Startups are small-scale business ventures that typically use the internet to create something new, something extraordinary that's never existed before. Though most startups begin and remain quite small, many have grown into large corporations. Like now mature Greek startup Upstream, working to accelerate mobile commerce across emerging markets, now with over 80 million paying subscribers across 45 different countries. Some startups have also experienced an explosive amount of growth in a very short period of time, like Greek startup Workable, founded in Athens in 2012, now as a recruiting and hiring platform, now working with over 20,000 companies to hire over 1 million job candidates. Some startups have even changed the world, like Greek startup Transifex, founded in Patras as a localization software, and now headquartered in Silicon Valley with customers in over 50 countries, like Waze and Atlassian, and helping them translate and localize their content into over 150 different languages. So, I imagine you've all heard of Instagram. You've also probably heard of Pinterest, Uber, Airbnb, LinkedIn. All of these are globally recognized companies that first started out as startups. Sure, these startups were bred in the United States, which has long been an environment that's hospitable to new business ventures. But startups have also transformed business landscapes outside the US. Exploding startup scenes in Bangalore and Tel Aviv have transformed India and Israel from old world trading hubs into new world global marketplaces. And I'm excited to say that there is evidence that Greece could be on a similar path of economic provenance. It's true. For much of the last decade, the Greek economy and society has suffered. The crisis has created great difficulties, making survival barely achievable at times. And given all of this, many have described Greece as an extraordinarily difficult place to start a business. But, alas, every society, just like every human, has their own kyklopes to face. And it's likely, in spite of all of this hardship, and because of it, that the Boston Consulting Group reported that from 2018 and 2019 alone, the number of startups here in Greece increased from 628 to over 1,000, a number that's projected to more than double by 2023. This means that within the next 3 years, we expect to see over 2,000 startups operating right here in Greece. Additionally, local Athens-based firm Marathon Venture Capital deduced that over 2.4 billion euros have been invested into the Greek startup ecosystem over the last decade. And then, in 2018, the European Strategic Investment Initiative made over 400 million euros available to Greek startups over the next 5 years. Something's definitely happening here. The Boston Consulting Group also reported that between 2012 and 2016, the total amount of investment in Greek startups increased from 5 million euros to 90 million euros. That's an increase of 18 times. It is because of all of this that last year, the largest credit rating agency in the United States, Standard & Poor's, predicted that Greece would experience its third consecutive year of GDP growth and gave the country an official credit upgrade. This long-awaited economic energy is not the result of rich men who are connected to the government, but stems directly from the efforts of young, ambitious individuals who are cunning and inventive, who aren't afraid of sea monsters or Poseidon storms, who come up with creative solutions to all the problems that they encounter, all directly from their laptops. Because of this, we are seeing a growing list of Greek startups that are performing far better than anyone could have ever imagined. Maybe you've heard of some of them. eFood, TaxiBeat, Polefish, Blueground. All of these are Greek startups that will continue to grow by obtaining funding and resources, including from the marketing consultancy like the one I currently run. My team and I at the port searched the country for young startups that have the potential to grow into amazingly successful companies and support them in giving them the marketing and business foundation they need to scale globally. Startups come to the port to get the guidance and resources they need to sail away and navigate uncharted waters. And we've had the opportunity to work with some truly inspiring companies and learn about many more. And I'm certain that once some of these Greek companies expand beyond the country's borders, even more international investors and resources will flow in. In fact, some international players have already started to take notice, like Greece-based incubator, the Orange Grove, started by the Dutch Embassy in 2013, and has since grown into a globally renowned initiative that is supporting countless Greek entrepreneurs and over 170 Greek startups since it was launched. Orange Groves was first started in Athens, backed by big companies like Heineken, KLM, and Philips, and has since opened up a branch in Patras to focus on the rising food and agri-tech startups that are in that region. This is showing us that a global agricultural leader, like the Netherlands, is quite literally planting seeds right here in Greece as a bet on the future. This should collectively impel everyone in this room to at least consider whether starting or joining a startup could be the right professional choice for you. If you, sitting right there in your chair, have an exciting idea swimming around in your head that you've always wanted to try out, channel your inner Odysseus and begin your journey today. Tell your teachers, tell your friends, head to one of the over 18 co-working spaces in Greece and over 70 accelerators, incubators, and startup hackathons and competitions here. Or, if all of this doesn't entice you, but you still want to get involved, there are many different ways. Find a friend, find a colleague, find a stranger even, who you probably met at this hip new co-working space, who's working on an exciting project, and help them develop some facet of their enterprise. Or, if you have other resources to offer, like mentorship or capital, find and support the local ventures that you believe to be most promising, because there's never been a better time to take part in Greece's emerging startup ecosystem across all industries. Because there isn't an industry that Greek startups won't eventually affect. From travel and tourism companies adopting apps that will help them book more customers and track their finances, to shipping and maritime companies that are implementing innovative startup software to figure out their cargo supply chains and optimize them. The impact will be ubiquitous, and for the sake of cultural camaraderie, linguistic fluency, and economic advancement, it will be best if the startups that are pushing these industries forward are Greek. I know what you might be thinking, but the government is weighed down by outdated bureaucratic processes. But Greece isn't a safe place to do business. But so many young Greeks have left the country for better opportunities abroad. Much of this is true. During each year of the recession, nearly tens of thousands of Greeks left the country. But even with this brain drain, there is still hope. According to the National Documentation Center, nearly 6 out of every 10 Greeks who are living abroad said they wish to return home. They just need a reason to. And companies like TransFX are giving them one, with repatriation programs that are helping provide incentives and bonuses for Greeks to move back home. Within Greece, we are seeing a big jump in secondary education. Last year, Greece saw the highest enrollment rates in bachelor's programs across all developed countries amongst 19 to 24-year-olds, and a noticeable increase amongst 25 to 34-year-olds. The biggest increase being amongst women. This means that more Greeks are being educated in the knowledge economy, which means coming up with lucrative ideas with others and using whatever resources they have available, whether it's your laptop or your sword, a little help from the goddess Athena, like Odysseus had, or a little help from investors. All of this is the essence of startups. Every day, more young Greeks are charging ahead, not waiting for anyone's permission to start their own businesses. The internet is making it easier than ever to do so. There are even virtual acceleration programs like Founderhood that are devoting resources and making things like expert mentorships and global networks available to Greek startups and founders and teams, regardless of where they're located. And with promising early-stage startups like SyncBnB and Lakai having raised seed-stage funds, the road ahead is looking very bright. Startups could very well transform a stagnant Greek economy into a vibrant and even dominant one. But startups must first grow and succeed in order to extend jobs, services, and products to the wider Greek and eventually global community. Startups will only be successful if they are creative, ambitious, and innovative. Luckily, all characteristics that the Greeks have long been famous for. Odysseus used clever disguises, wordplay, and strategic alliances to find his way home. In modern-day Greece, we see this exhibited as disruptive apps and strategic partnerships like an acquisition of Greece's e-food by Delivery Hero and TaxiBeat by Daimler. Greek writers like Aristophanes, Sophocles, Euripides, Greek philosophers like Socrates, Platon, Aristoteles, all of these Greeks created something new that no one had seen before and exported their ideas to the world in a creative legacy that continues to live on. Just because Greece is currently facing trials and tribulations that are testing this country's vigor, does that really mean that all of those great characteristics are gone? No, it doesn't. The Greeks gave us great literature, philosophy, and the democratic governance that laid the foundation for the American dream that had such a deep impact on my childhood, education, and career. I have Greece to thank for that. I also have Odysseus to thank because he made it through his hero's journey, and in doing so, set an example that has already done so much to inspire me on my own personal journey. Without his model, I couldn't have imagined leaving everything that I'd known behind to take my skills and put them to a test in a very different market, and then emerge with a strengthened resilience and new skill set that would help me overcome whatever challenges my journey would and will continue to bring. As the tale of Odysseus shows us, the Greeks are resilient and explorers by nature. They have sailed through uncharted waters for millennia in search of new ports to conquer new terrains, all without ever losing sight of home. In modern-day Greece, we see this manifest as the rising tide of innovation that will bring Greece back to the ithaki of economic stability. Today, Greece has reached a turning point in its hero's journey, with help from founders, investors, students, creative minds, people like you. And I look forward to seeing what it looks like when Greece finally comes home. Ευχαριστώ πολύ για το χρόνο σας.